In the heart of Boston, Massachusetts, where the Charles River sparkled under the sunlight and historic buildings lined the streets, lived a woman named Rachel Miller, a 34-year-old registered nurse who worked at Massachusetts General Hospital. Rachel had dedicated her life to caring for others, always putting her patients before herself, but deep down she often felt a quiet emptiness when she returned home to her small apartment after long shifts. She had been divorced for 2 years after her marriage ended in a quiet mutual decision, and though she told herself she was content with her independence, she sometimes wished for the warmth of companionship. One cool spring morning, Rachel was assigned a new patient named Daniel Hayes, a 36-year-old man recovering from a serious leg injury after a car accident. Daniel was tall, with sandy blonde hair and a gentle smile that seemed to reach his eyes even when he was in pain. From the moment Rachel walked into his hospital room, she noticed his easy charm and calm demeanor despite the circumstances. As she checked his vitals and adjusted his Daniel cracked a small joke about how hospital food could use a little more seasoning, and Rachel laughed in spite of herself, realizing she hadn't truly laughed like that in weeks. Over the next several days, Rachel continued caring for Daniel during her shifts. She admired the way he handled his situation with resilience, never complaining even when physical therapy left him exhausted. Daniel, on the other hand, began to look forward to Rachel's visits, not just because she was his nurse but because of the warmth and kindness she carried with her. They would talk about small things, books, music, the city they both loved, and Rachel found herself opening up in ways she rarely did with patients. She told him about her favorite coffee shop in Beacon Hill and how she loved walking along the river during quiet mornings. Daniel, a software engineer who had recently moved back to Boston after years of working in New York, shared stories about his travels and how the accident had reminded him of the importance of slowing down. One afternoon, while Rachel was helping him practice walking with crutches, he stumbled slightly, and she instinctively reached out to steady him. Their eyes met, and for a brief moment, time seemed to slow. Rachel quickly brushed it off, reminding herself that she was a professional and Daniel was her patient, yet the warmth in his gaze lingered in her thoughts long after she left the room. As the weeks passed, Daniel's health improved, and soon he was preparing to be discharged. On his last day at the hospital, Rachel brought him his paperwork with a smile, hiding the unexpected sadness she felt knowing she wouldn't see him every day anymore. Daniel noticed the hint of emotion in her eyes and quietly asked if she would ever join him for coffee at that Beacon Hill cafe she had once mentioned. Rachel hesitated for a moment, torn between her professional boundaries and the growing feeling in her heart, but something inside her whispered that life was too short to ignore moments that mattered. With a small, genuine smile, she said yes. Their first coffee together was simple yet unforgettable. They talked for hours, losing track of time as laughter filled the space between them. Rachel was surprised by how natural it felt, as though they had known each other far longer than a few weeks in a hospital setting. Daniel treated her not just as a nurse who had cared for him, but as a woman he deeply respected and admired. Over the following months, their bond grew stronger. Rachel learned to trust again, letting Daniel's steady presence remind her that love could be gentle, supportive, and healing. Daniel, in turn, found in Rachel a kind of warmth he had been searching for. Someone who saw beyond his injuries and into the person he truly was. Their relationship blossomed slowly, built not on dramatic gestures but on quiet moments of connection. Evening walks along the river, afternoons spent in bookstores, Sunday mornings filled with coffee and conversation. Rachel often thought back to the day she first walked into his hospital room, never imagining how much her life would change because of a patient who became so much more. In the end, Rachel realized that love had found her again in the most unexpected way, not through grand plans or searching, but through a chance encounter in a hospital room where she least expected it. For the first time in years, she no longer felt the weight of loneliness. Instead, she felt cherished, seen and desired, not just as a nurse who cared for others, but as a woman whose heart had found a place to rest.